called something else. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, anyway,
Go ahead.
enough of that. So,
All right.
today's music selection.
Yeah.
All right. By the way, I was having, as I indicated, I had a long conversation with Brian off air.
Yeah.
And you probably knew
Where
this.
is Brian, by the way?
Well, he's got stuff
okay.
to do.
Okay.
But you probably knew this already, but Brian is an expert on Eric Clapton. I don't know if you knew that or not.
No.
Well, Brian knows almost as much about Eric Clapton as the doctor does.
Wow.
Which is saying something.
Yeah.
So what I thought I'd do is I'd give a little history of Eric Clapton, and then we're going to play a song of his,
Okay.
and we're going to get a little bit into the background of that song. Eric Clapton first sprang to fame as a guitarist with a band called the Yardbirds in England.
I knew that.
Now, the Yardbirds gave birth to three of the great guitarists of early British rock. Eric Clapton was one, a guy named Jeff Beck was another one, and you may be playing Jeff Beck on some of your jazz stuff because he has gone into jazz.
I do.
Superb technical guitarist. And the third was a guy named Jimmy Page. Jimmy Page later went on to form Led Zeppelin, of course, and the rest, as they say, is history. Now, let's talk a little bit about Eric. Eric started, as I said, with the Yardbirds. He then went to a band called Cream, which was the first power trio of rock and roll. After Cream, he formed Derek and the Dominoes and had a couple of hit records with them, one of which we're going to play. And then he finally, of course, decided, you know, I can make money just as Eric Clapton, which he has done since the early 70s. Eric, in about 1969 early or so, fell in love. And he fell in love with a woman named Patty. Eric's problem was that Patty was married to his best friend.
Well, that could be a problem.
Yes.
Yeah.
The other problem was his best friend was even more famous than Eric. His best friend was George Harrison of the Beatles. And Eric pursued Patty. She was a former model. Surprising that rock stars marry models, I know. And she was quite the muse. She was a muse for a number of George Harrison songs, most famous of which is Something in the Way She Moves. But Eric pursued her madly and eventually got her. And she became the muse for the next song we're going to play. And as far as I know, she's the only woman who has been the muse for two #1 songs by two different people.
Yeah.
And the name of the song is Layla, and it is about her.
1970.
1970. He obviously couldn't call it George Harrison's wife.
No.
So
well, he
he
could,
named-
but it would have been odd.
It would have been uncomfortable.
Yeah, lyric-wise, too, would have been kind of
Yeah,
difficult.
so he called the song Layla. So that's what we're going to hear.
Okay.
In honor of Brian.
In honor of Brian. Well, thank you. Next time I see Brian, I'll... Jeez.
He's around somewhere. He's a busy man. He's got stuff to do.
Okay. All right. Here it is. Layla, the 7-minute version original from 1970.
By Derek and the Dominoes.
Derek and the Dominoes. Here we go.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Manzanita Radio and Dr. Pearson.
Dr. Pearson.